First, I wanted to start by asking just how badly the Chinese real estate market was affected by the Evergrande crisis last autumn. Was it all primary market? Was it the secondary market as well?
Yeah, look, I know there was a lot written and spoken about it, but if you kind of look at the facts and the performance of the market on calendar year 2021, the amount of money spent in the market, which we call gross transaction volume, hit a historic high around 23 trillion yuan. So that's kind of the best ever result. New property sales at around 14 million units, secondary sales at around 4 million units. So the market, to be honest, I think that the other external factors, the pandemic, geopolitical tensions around the world, concern around the future, probably had a more profound impact than the kind of situation around Evergrande, from my perspective.
Okay. And we hear a lot from a lot of other markets about how there's a real housing crisis, a shortage of units, lack of listings. I'm thinking especially in countries like Pakistan at the moment, there's a huge shortage of housing. Is it a similar situation in China?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of caveat that there's a shortage of what the government would call affordable housing, right? In other words, housing that is in the grasp of regular people who earn a kind of regular salary or wage. So there's a big emphasis on particularly affordable rental dwellings. One interesting thing about China is the percentage of people in the population who rents is incredibly low. So typically in Australia or America, it'd be around about 30%, right, if all people live in a rental property. But in China, that figure's below 10%. Now in Beijing and Shanghai, it's closer to 30, but if you look at the country overall, there's not enough rental accommodation. So that's become a big focus of the government as well. How can we encourage more people to put more affordable, high quality rental dwellings on the market?
Okay, and does the government work with companies such as KE Holdings or the portal Beike in this case to do that, to kind of implement its housing policy, or what's the relationship like with the government?
Well, obviously the government is the regulator, so they kind of set the rules for the playing field. And then I think more importantly, they kind of set the tenor of where the market as a whole should be focusing its energy, or what are some of the important bottlenecks that government has identified within the housing market. So whether that be access to finance, the criteria for getting what we call a household register here, which affects where you can buy and sell property, or in this case, what qualifies as high quality rental property. The government kind of sets the tenor, and they typically do that through announcements, speeches, policy positions, etc. And then it's up to companies within the market to figure out the best way to work within the regulations and the mood of the macro environment to, push that agenda forward.
Okay. So talking a bit more specifically about KE Holdings, the property portal that you guys run, Beike, could you kind of give us an idea of how the company operates and what kind of differentiates it maybe from other property portals out there like Fang, Hanjuke, and those guys?
Well, Beike is unique in China insofar as it connects in a very real way, connects online and offline, whereas the other players in this area in China are more similar to what we would typically see in the kind of classified space. They kind of sell leads or distribute leads to agents on an advertising fee basis. KE works a little bit different. We connect brands to our portal in an exclusive relationship, and then we provide them a lot of different support and some resources as well to help them become more efficient, productive, and provide better service. So I'll give you an example. We help brands out with recruitment of agents, managing agent workflow, and connecting the whole array of different services. So there's more depth to our model than what you would typically see in a kind of a classified kind of style business. Okay.
Am I right in thinking as well, you guys run one of the biggest, if not the biggest, brokerage in China as well?
Sure. Well, that actually came first, right? The brokerage known as HomeLink was established in 2001, and then it kind of grew in size, and then was evolved into Beike, evolved from a single brand HomeLink into a multi-brand Beike in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is what started off as a brokerage turned into a portal. And so I guess there's some differences to how the company works, how the business operates. Am I right in thinking as well that agents have to list exclusively with you guys? As in, if I'm an agent, I list with you, I can't share my listings with other portals. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. They can work with any brand within the Beike system, and we have several hundred brands now participating across the Beike platform. But to use like an American example, you wouldn't be able to put your listing with Zillow and at the same time put it with Realtor. So you have to park your listing, and in fact, all your resources and work with Beike, and that's an exclusive relationship.
Okay. So we're talking here about a company which is enormous. I wrote up your guys' yearly financials yesterday and was kind of aghast at some of the numbers. So I think just looking at it, you've got nearly 500,000 agents. You kind of net revenues $2.8 billion or something every quarter. You guys obviously, you've just released your financial results. What's the outlook like, and what's the reaction been to the results?
Yeah, well, I don't think the company would ever want to kind of benchmark itself against one report kind of on its own. I think it's kind of about the direction of travel. Can we bring enough agents into the network to create economies of scale? And once the agents are in, can we make them do their work better, right? Can they provide better customer service? Can they become more efficient? Can they stay longer in the industry? This is a big problem for most housing markets in developing economies, right? Agents simply don't stay in the industry long enough to become professional at what they do. So I think they're the markets we really care about, and a rising tide kind of lifts all boats, including revenue in that sense. So the scale is there because China is a very big real estate market, right? It's $1 trillion US real estate market. So as I said, there's 4 million secondhand transactions a year, 14 million new property transactions a year. There's a lot of scale there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested in kind of the split between primary and secondary. Obviously, a lot of real estate portal companies in, let's say, not quite so mature markets really love working in the primary sector. But maybe the tide is turning with a few of these, and the secondaries kind of becoming more and more important. Is that what you guys are seeing?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, HomeLink initially, and now KE, has kind of always had secondhand sales in it at the core of its DNA. But if you look at the China market overall, it's still a new property market. So if we break down the numbers, if the whole market is 100%, new properties around 60%, and then secondhand is around 30%, and rental is around 10%. So that's kind of how the market looks overall. And K is a little bit above that. We do about 50% of our GTV or our sales volume in secondhand. So we're kind of a bit ahead of where the market is overall in terms of the structure. That's also because we focus on China's top cities, where there isn't typically as much new property as there would be in smaller markets. Yeah.
Okay. You've mentioned a couple of times GTV, so gross transaction volume. Is this the metric that the company's really focused on? Is this one of the key metrics for you guys?
I think so, because we aim to be a service platform. The company aims to be a service platform, right? So the kind of GTV in that sense is the Play-Doh which you build a service kind of focused model. So as I touched on the term there, economy of scale. If you have enough GTV, you have enough agents and clients, you can really start to build a whole ecosystem of high quality services that revolve around property transactions.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, which I guess the company is really excited about, is what the strategy is going forward, because I've covered KE Holdings for a while, and there seems to be a huge opportunity that the company sees around not only transactions of buying and selling a home, but all the transactions that go on in the home. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's a good observation. I mean, a problem faced by all players in the real estate space, right, whether they be a classified site or an offline brokerage or a service-based online model, is that typically a family will only buy and sell a home every couple of years, right? In China, maybe it's 8 or 9 years. Other markets might be a bit longer, a bit shorter, but that's kind of a very long time lapse between meeting each client, right? So a key priority here, or something really focusing on, is can we interact with our clients more often to offer them good services? And like you said, can we win more of that share of wallet within the four walls of each home? And that would extend to, the kind of typical ones we'll see: removal, cleaning, household services, etc. But on top of that, I think the company really sees a big future in furniture and interior decoration. And that's simply because it's such a big market. Typically, in kind of a real estate ecosystem anywhere in the world, apart from commission take, interior decoration, and then to a lesser extent furniture, are going to be the second biggest parts of the pie. And in China, it's a really fragmented, kind of hard to use space for consumers. So we see a lot of opportunity there.
Okay, and what exactly has the company been doing to get into this, really big, potentially untapped revenue stream?
Yeah, well, one thing KE has that a lot of people, I could say no one else in China has, is kind of a very significant volume of dwellings or homes captured in VR, right? So across the whole platform, around 70% of all our listings are captured in VR using our own kind of VR tools. And that really allows you to layer other services like renovation or furniture on top of people looking at homes. So let me give you an example. I'm looking at a listing that I like, maybe I end up buying it, and then through a digital space, I can layer on an interior design solution that I like, and then put furniture in as well. And KE is going to provide that using a mix of its own supply chains and third parties that are part of the ecosystem too. So if you kind of stretch it out, with any given home in China, there are around 20,000 items, right? That's kind of the average number. So there's a lot of stuff within the home, apart from renovation and furniture, which are great starting points, which can be digitized. So that's the kind of journey we're heading on now. Okay,
interesting. I kind of don't like giving people really open-ended questions, but I'm going to end with one. How do you see the real estate market in China evolving? And how do you see the company changing over the next few years?
Yeah, well, I think the journey for whether you be in China or Southeast Asia or India, Pakistan, I think the journey is fairly kind of similar for everyone, right? It's generally a journey from a market with very few rules and standards to one with more transparent rules and standards that apply for everyone, right? That's part of it. And the other part is a journey from new property, new developments to more secondhand, right? So less first home buyers in the market over time and more people upgrading, like a young family going from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom house. And that's a good place for the market to be, because it becomes more sustainable, kind of more predictable as well. So as I said, at the moment, secondhand sales are around 30% of the total pie in China. That's definitely going to trend towards 50. And if we look at the US, it's typically kind of 85 to 90% secondhand, only 10 to 15% new property, right? So over the course of time, that's probably where China will get to. Beijing and Shanghai are already much closer to that figure than other parts of the country. So that's kind of looking at it from a macro point of view. In terms of the company, I think it's just going to become both a broader and a deeper ecosystem. So providing more different services. I touched on some of them today that we already do offer or are building. And then kind of over the breadth of the platform, kind of going deep as well, and really helping agents deliver services to consumers or home buyers as well, instead of being just a kind of a referral widget where people can enter their phone number or email and then be contacted by someone. So we're really focused on delivery and kind of lifting the standard for everyone, whether that be in second-hand transaction, new property, or in furniture, renovation, or other home services.
Okay, interesting stuff. Well, Brett, thanks so much for talking to us. It's really interesting to hear about a market that we don't necessarily hear so much about here in the West. And I hope it goes well for you in China.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
I hope it goes well for me here too.